Hi guys, it's Kimberly back with the Illumin Guru, and thanks for joining me. If you want to check out the website or any of the services that I offer, I'm a soul coach and intuitive advisor, and you can check that out at theilluminguru.com. Also check out our new Facebook page. We're at facebook.com/theilluminguru and now on Instagram. So I wanted to bring twin flames and divine love couples an energy update specifically for the new moon in Virgo that's occurring this week on September 20th. So I did post my weekly energy update, and I promised you I would come back with a reading or some sort of a message about the new moon and how we can declare our intentions better and what this means for us this week. So I'm going to speak from what's being delivered to me. You might go watch different astrologers. I posted Sonia Francis's video. I love her. She's the astrologer coach, and that video is on the Illumin Guru Facebook page. So if you want to watch that, she's wonderful and has a lot of insight on this new moon as well. I'm going to kind of gear this towards twin flame and divine love couples. So I think what we're going to see over the next week or so is there's going to be some reversion back to the old, which feels like to me going back into our headspace, even if we've done a good job at recognizing what our intuition is saying or what our heart space is feeling, we are going to be in a more heady place. And that's because this new moon is directly in conjunction with Mercury, who rules Virgo, and Mercury is very much about up here, right? Those messages, the mental mind, communication. And I think that we may tend to act in old ways. So those of us who have made progress, really connecting to our intuition, connecting to speaking our heart's truth, we may find ourselves now, and if you do find yourself digressing a bit, where you're going back into the overanalyzing or the mental mind and you're acting or reacting from that place of, it's very much this thing about the societal norms, what we've been taught, how we expect things to be, the assumptions we've made about the way things should be. That's going to come into play with this new moon. And so our mental reaction from our logical mind is going to be very much, it could be a defensive one, or one that will put us in our protective mode, our warrior mode, our fearful mode, and that will further remove us or pull us away from our heart center and our intuition. So if we find ourselves digressing, the only thing we can do is just take a step back and really recognize what is the information that's coming forth? Where is it coming from? If we've already had a reaction, how can we clean this up? So how do we go back into our inner knowing, like from the gut? And how do we also go into this connection to the truth in here? So this is going to maybe bring up some triggers, right? So getting triggered and reverting to old ways is what they're saying. So as that happens, it's not that you should really be mad at yourself or hate yourself or be like, oh, I did a bad job, I reverted, damn. You're human, and that's part of this process. And to think that we'll stay in surrender or stay in this totally healed mode after years and years and years of being in our default settings is not realistic. So understand that this is part of the process of repatterning these default settings. So let's say someone triggers you and your default setting is to get defensive or mean or angry, or maybe it's to shy away, to close down, to totally shut down. Those things we have been doing for so many years. And even though if you feel like you've broken it, it's like they're saying, okay, well, this is coming up again so that you can get even better at not being triggered, even better at listening to your heart space and listening to your intuition and not going into the mental space or even the egoic voice, because that ego voice is basically saying, I've had this experience before, I've been hurt like this, it's feeling the trigger and it's going, nope, it's like a fight or flight response. You're either going to be defensive or running or lashing out, and those things are not going to serve us or the situation at hand, especially if this is concerning our twin flame or divine love partner. So how can we address it? So if this happens, if you find yourself in this pattern, the best way to address it is to just observe it. So lift out of yourself and be the observer. Once we can be the observer, and also they're saying understand the other person's point of view, okay? Because we may be seeing things, when we see things at that trigger level, it's because we're seeing it as it's happened to us in the past, okay? So whether it's with that person or if it's a multitude of different situations or something from childhood that's being triggered, we are seeing it through the wounded eyes, okay? And that's often where that reaction comes from. So we're being reminded to lift up above as much as we can. And even if this is after the fact, so don't hate yourself, don't beat up on yourself, don't judge yourself. This is here for your growth. I saw a quote recently and it said, if you feel like you've achieved surrender more. And it's the same thing with this. It's like if you feel like you've achieved your healing, heal more. It's keep going. There's always another layer. There's always something that's going to test our resolve or test how far we've come. And that's what's happening right now. I also feel that this new moon is going to help us set intentions for the upcoming months, specifically through, it feels like November, like through Thanksgiving. It's set the intentions now for that time period for the next several months. And I know usually these new moons take us like 3 weeks or so, but this is really about setting intentions as the autumnal equinox sets in, and we're thinking about not just what we want to achieve, but really what we want to work on in these darker months, in the fall months, in the winter months, in the northern hemisphere. So really, really, really pay attention to that when you're doing any sort of a ritual for autumnal equinox, or just setting your intentions for the new moon. And we may not be able to get clear on exactly what we want because we've got this mental stuff going on. There may be communication snafus. And even though Mercury is direct, I feel like it's really affecting us through this new moon in terms of the contrast between the head and heart, the head and the intuition. And this is going to push us further into our truth. We are being reminded at this time to step into our regality. So what do we deserve? How do we deserve to be treated? Not as society taught us, not in reaction to old wounds, but truly like at the core of authentically who we are. It's also talking about a need for space. And by spacing, I'm not talking about like going and isolating yourself or hermiting. It doesn't feel like that. I feel like on that level, this is a time of connection. But in terms of space, we're talking about space so that we don't have a heavy pressure that we're putting on one another, like in the twin flame or divine love connections. It could still mean spending time together. It doesn't mean isolation. And I still feel like this is a time of connection, but space is meaning that time that we spend connecting back into ourselves and really allowing the clarity to come through. It's not going to come through human thinking. It's going to come through spending time in nature. It's going to come through realigning with our power. It's going to come through not being in a knee-jerk reaction mode or a pulling at someone mode. So again, if I could leave you with anything in terms of how to work through these, whether it's regressing to old ways or going into our headspace or finding this balance between head and heart and head and intuition, I would definitely say don't be mad at yourself and, really look at the place of, yes, I've been healing. Yes, I'm doing a great job. Give yourself that much. Then go, yes, I'm human. Yes, these things are going to still come up. yes, I'm going to allow for it. And this time I'm going to lift up and be the observer of it so that I can really help transform the way I'm reacting, transform the way I'm thinking about this particular situation or that particular situation. And it's going to give you new insight. It's going to give you new energy, and it's going to bring like a breath of fresh air to yourself, which will help you in the interaction with others, whether that be your twin flame or any situation that's currently challenging for you. And being the observer is really the key to transformation. I mean, the observer of self, okay? Because we can be in our physical shoes, going through things, feeling through things, and you're supposed to be feeling all of your emotions and allowing them to flow through you. But once we lift up into observer, we're able to look at ourselves a little more objectively and really see like the 360-degree view. I always say like the bird's eye view, lift up, bird's eye view. And we start to see the other person's point of view. We start to see some of our patterns. We start to see maybe where we've overreacted. We may see places where we're sensitive because there's something else that's bothering us, or there's something underlying that we haven't healed. We may see things that, authentic truths that we're just kind of ignoring in the day-to-day, or places where we're denying ourselves our truth, right? And so that perspective is really going to help us see what's really going on inside of us and help us obviously correct the behaviors and repattern. So I'm going to leave you with that. That's my message for this new moon. And if you have any questions or you desire to work in session with me, you can do so by contacting me via theilluminedguru.com. And I'll see you guys all next time. Okay, bye.